Should I email or send a letter to doctors for referrals? This is a question that I often get from holistic health practitioners who would love to be attracting more patients through referrals from medical doctors and other kinds of conventional medical practitioners. This is Chen Yen, your 6 and 7 figure practice makeover mentor at Introverted Visionary, where we help holistic health practitioners with growing, fulfilling practices that are the best expression of their expertise and what they love to do. So, from having worked in many different settings in the conventional medical world, in hospital, outpatient, and seeing the insides of the FDA and at Merck, I've seen what actually gets doctors to want to refer versus not, and can give you the shortcuts to that. So, I would say one of the biggest mistakes a lot of holistic health practitioners make is just thinking it would be so nice to make it easy for myself, and I'll just send a bunch of letters to medical doctors or maybe email them. But is that really the best route to go? So think about it. Should you send a letter to doctors? Well, what happens when you send to doctors? Many times the gatekeeper is there to screen you out. If they don't really know who in the world you are, then chances are this is what's going to happen. They're going to get it, and it's going to end up in a trash. Right. And so because they get many people interested in getting a hold of them or connecting also. And so it's really important that you are able to stand out much more than just in a letter. Just think about it. What would you do if you got something random that was a letter? You would probably do something similar to that, or just put it on the back burner and take care of other things that you have that are more on your plate that are pressing. Would you say that's true? So that's similar to what a doctor would do as well, too, if they didn't know you at all. So, I actually heard a chiropractic practice management company bring up how, you should write a list of like 100 doctors in your area and then send things to them. And I thought, oh my goodness. Some people say it's a numbers game. You just need to send out a whole bunch of letters, and then maybe a couple of providers will actually respond, and that's good enough. But is that really the best use of your time and energy? Is that really the best use of your resources and money to be doing that? What would you do if you actually got a letter from someone who you didn't know? You'd probably put it on the back burner and then think, okay, I might do something with this later. Or maybe you'll just ignore it. Would you say that's true? So similarly, that's how many medical doctors and doctors would likely respond to if you ended up sending them a letter. Now, what about email? I would say many times, one of the questions that I get is, well, how do I get a hold of a doctor's email address, or should I be emailing them? And so here's the thing. If you can get a hold of more of their direct emails, certainly it can be a good way to reach out, connect that way. But then what are you going to say in it? Especially if they don't know who you are. If you have some kind of a connection with them already that has been started, then sending something like an email to take things further with a relationship can be beneficial. And then it's a matter of, well, what do you actually say in it? And then how can you develop relationships so that you start to get the referral sooner rather than later? Because just because they know about you doesn't mean that they will refer either. And then some holistic practitioners have asked me, well, do you give lists of doctors? And this is what I will say about it, is that, first of all, there are many providers in your area, and you don't really need to have a lot of providers referring. You just need a handful of people who are your biggest champions. And as such, you don't need like this huge list and then try to reach out to all these people and try to get their interest and attention. And so it's actually more about who best to approach, how best to approach them, than it is about having a huge list of providers to reach out to. And in fact, I encourage our clients to really go deeper with fewer medical doctors, or go deeper with fewer doctors. How can you go deeper with the relationship with fewer doctors than to be feeling like you need to be spreading yourself so thin and reaching out to a whole bunch of providers because it's a numbers game, because it doesn't have to be like that. In fact, that is a lot less effective than going deeper in fewer relationships with a handful of providers. It also doesn't work as well to be not prepared and not having something very clear to communicate to providers in such a way where they feel like they trust in you and then they would want to refer to you. So I would say this is something that can be helpful. I'm going to be explaining something because in order to get more referrals from medical doctors, it's helpful for you to be able to understand why doctors may not be referring as much as they could be. And then how can you actually get them to the place where they do start referring? And so go ahead and draw a triangle on a sheet of paper, blank sheet of paper. And on the top part of the triangle, I'd like you to write down their level of connection with you, like as a person and as a provider. So if they don't really know about you, obviously they wouldn't be referring. And then if they don't really resonate with you, then it also may be that it may be less likely for them to be giving you referrals. So do they feel like they have some kind of connection with you, and they also trust in you as a practitioner? And then on the bottom right corner, write down trust in your modality. So do they trust in your modality or your approach? And even if they do they actually understand the scope of what you could really help their patients with? And then do they feel comfortable that it's safe and effective? Because if it's not safe, they're likely not going to refer. Many medical doctors are concerned about lawsuits these days. And so if they don't really trust in your modality and that it's safe, then they're likely not going to refer. And so then the third thing that you draw on the triangle here, right, would be top of mind awareness. So even if they like you and even if they feel like they trust in your modality, but if you aren't necessarily top of mind awareness for them, then they may not end up referring, because they have all kinds of people getting their attention all the time, whether it's other kinds of providers, whether it's drug reps, whether it's vendors, whether it's other kinds of people trying to get their attention, whether it's patients. So they're busy all day long. And so they might have come across you one day, but then they already forgot who you are like a week or two from now, right? Because they have a lot going on. And so if you're not top of mind awareness for them, then they're much less likely to refer. Like, why do drug companies end up sending drug reps to doctors' offices? Even though likely the doctor knows about that drug, right? Even though they may have already gone to that doctor's office before, why does a drug company send drug reps to doctors' offices? Because there is always a prescription spike. There's always a prescription increase after a drug rep goes to a doctor's office, because it's front of mind awareness for that provider. And then they think to write prescription for that particular medication. So similarly, if you could be top of mind awareness for the doctor, then they're much more likely to refer patients to you. So then have a look at this triangle. This is how to look at it. Like, think about who is one provider you would love to be getting your first referrals from or more referrals from. And then rate yourself on a scale of 1 through 10 in each of these 3 areas. And then after you do that, then have a look at this. So the question is, how can you get each one of these 3 areas closer to a 10? So there are different ways to approach providers that can help support getting referrals. And yet one avenue that has worked really well for our clients is speeding up getting referrals from providers is this. Because many times, even if they know about you and they like you, they may not be referring yet because they don't really understand the scope of exactly how you can help their patients. And so if you're able to educate them more about that, they're more likely to refer. So essentially, I look at it like this. It's like educating them on an angle of a topic that would be helpful and beneficial to them. I look at it like where it's like you create one signature talk. So look at it as creating one signature talk that you can give to one provider, whether it's in person or via Zoom, in a clinic setting, or it could be in front of a larger setting as well. For example, one of our clients spoke in front of 70 providers and ended up getting 10 new patients from that. And then referrals on top of that too. So there's a range of what you could do with this. And so you don't need to be worried about like writing letters or reaching out to doctors and spending money on that. And writing, you don't need to worry about writing letters and mailing them out and spending money on that and trying to reach out in other ways and getting shot down by the front desk because they're there to screen you out, right? But instead, if you have a good angle of a topic, you could educate the providers on, they're much more likely to want to listen to you. And then there are different settings also where you could speak in front of roomfuls of providers too. So that's where you can start putting yourself on the map more, and they start seeing as a go-to practitioner in your area, and then also refer. And so then what you end up saying is important too, like how you end up sharing and educating in that talk is really helpful too, because there's a difference between educating to just educate, and difference between that and educating and inspiring referrals to come from it. For example, we had a client of ours who had opportunities to speak in front of providers, but she never really got referrals for her own practice in doing so. And then afterwards, she worked with us. I helped her with what to say in what she actually educated the providers on. She started getting referrals, and it just felt so good because, you know, not only are the providers more aware of how she could help, but also she is helping the patients that are being referred by those providers. So this can totally happen for you too. So that's one great way to speed up getting referrals from doctors. So we just need to focus on getting one good signature talk created in front of providers, and then get you in front of providers, give you those opportunities, and then have certain things in place that support getting doctor referrals. Like, do you have a system in place that supports that? And then do you have a system in place that supports ongoing referrals as well? So I am super excited about helping our clients with this in our upcoming cohort of a couple of mentorships where in our upcoming cohort of one of our makeover mentorships. So there are two different makeover mentorships where we help our clients through this. One of them is if you do have an interest in speeding up getting provider referrals with that one signature talk in place. And another is if you have no interest in doing that, there's still ways of attracting provider referrals too. So I'm so excited about helping you with this and getting this in place in your practice. It's one of the most undertapped avenues to be attracting consistent flow of patients into your practice. It's one of the few approaches where you could put in place and you could be getting referrals even 3 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now, without having to be constantly marketing. But I would say few practitioners actually put a full effort towards this. They either don't end up trying to do this, or they try to do it and then they don't end up having things pop for them. And then they just think, oh, well, X, Y, Z reason why it doesn't work, right? And so yet at the same time, our clients we've helped get to the point where it pops for them, then they have enjoyed having referrals from providers. We have clients, for example, one of our clients is having referrals from different providers within a hospital system close by, and then has other referrals from other doctors outside of the hospitals too. So it's just so nice to be supporting the community through your modality, and more people know about you and how you can help them. And patients who come from doctor referrals are much more likely to actually start care and stick with it too, because they're referred by doctors and then patients trust what their doctors say. So I'm super excited to help you with this. If you're ready to explore having our help with getting this going in your practice, then go ahead and go to introvertedvisionary.com and book a free chat with us. And I can't wait to see how we can help you accelerate growth in your practice to 6 and 7 figures the introverted way. If you haven't checked out my free masterclass on how to attract 3 to 5 new patients a week through doctor referrals, go ahead and click on the link and register now. And I can't wait to help you there.